There's a jacket in a store window. The tag says $400, crossed out. Underneath, $180. Feel that little pull? That is not a bargain detector. That's a bug in your brain, being exploited on purpose. Nobody knows if that jacket was ever $400. It doesn't matter. The number got in first, and now every judgment you make is negotiating with it. Here's the unsettling part. That was the obvious one. Right now, 7 mental shortcuts are quietly steering what you buy, who you trust, what you're afraid of, and how long you stay in things that stopped working. You use all 7 every single day, and the 7th one is the reason you're already assuming this video is about other people. In 1974, 2 psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, published a paper that would eventually reroute economics, medicine, and law. Their argument was simple. Your brain doesn't have the time or the fuel to compute the world from scratch, so it runs on shortcuts. Heuristics, fast rules that are usually right. Usually. The catch is that when they fail predictably. Same direction, same situations, everyone. Those predictable failure patterns are what we call cognitive biases. Notice that this is not a stupidity problem. Kahneman won a Nobel Prize partly for documenting biases he admitted he still couldn't shake in himself. It's a design trade-off, and there is no off switch. What there is a map. So here are 7. Counted up from the one picking your wallet every day to the one you cannot see at all. Number 1. Anchoring. Kahneman and Tversky rigged a wheel of fortune to land on either 10 or 65, then asked people a question that had nothing to do with it. What percentage of United Nations countries are African? People who watched the wheel land on 10 guessed around 25%. People who saw 65 guessed 45. A carnival wheel, a number they knew was random, dragged their answers by 20 points. That's the crossed-out price tag. It's also the first figure named in any salary negotiation, which is why the person who names a number first bends the whole conversation around it. The first number in the room always gets a vote, usually the deciding one. Number 2, confirmation bias. In 1960, Peter Wason gave people a sequence, 2, 4, 6, and asked them to discover his rule by proposing their own sets of 3 numbers. Almost everyone proposed sequences that fit their pet theory, 8, 10, 12, 20, 40, 60, yes, yes, yes. And still wrong, because the rule was simply any increasing numbers, and the only way to discover that was to propose something you expected to fail. Almost nobody did. Your brain does not search for truth, it searches for backup. It treats "I found evidence I'm right" as case closed, when it never asked the only question that counts, what would prove me wrong? Your newsfeed knows this and sells you agreement by the pound. Number 3, the availability heuristic. Your brain estimates how likely something is by how easily an example comes to mind. Plane crashes come to mind easily. They're vivid, cinematic, always on the news. So after September 11th, huge numbers of Americans stopped flying and drove instead. Researcher Gerd Gigerenzer later ran the numbers. In the year that followed, roughly 1,500 additional people died on American roads, casualties of avoiding a risk that was, mile for mile, vastly smaller than the one they chose to replace it. Your fear tracks the memorable, not the probable. And the news is a machine for making rare things memorable. Number 4, the sunk cost fallacy. In 1985, researchers sold theater season tickets at randomly different prices. Full price, a small discount, a big discount. Then they counted attendance. The full price buyers showed up to significantly more plays. Same shows, same seats. The only difference was how much pain was already buried in the ticket. That's why you finish bad movies, and why people stay years too long in jobs, degrees, and relationships. Because leaving feels like wasting everything already spent. But the money and the years are gone whether you stay or go. That's what sunk means. The only question that's real is the one this bias won't let you ask. Knowing everything I know now, would I choose this again today? Number 5, negativity bias. 10 people compliment your work. 1 person shrugs at it. Whose voice narrates your shower argument the next morning? In 2001, psychologist Roy Baumeister reviewed decades of findings and gave the pattern a blunt title, "Bad is stronger than good. Losses hit harder than same-sized wins. Criticism outweighs praise. It reliably takes several good moments to cancel one bad one. Evolution's fingerprints are all over this. Ancestors who obsessed over threats outsurvived the ones who stopped to savor sunsets. Which was a great deal on the savannah. It's a much worse deal now, when it lets one rude email eat an entire weekend." Number 6, the spotlight effect. Psychologist Thomas Gilovich had students walk into a room of strangers wearing a giant Barry Manilow t-shirt, selected, scientifically, for maximum embarrassment. Afterward, the wearers estimated about half the room had clocked the shirt. The real number, fewer than 1 in 4. Everyone is the main character of their own movie, which means almost no one is watching yours. That awkward thing you said last week, the one you're still replaying, most of the witnesses deleted it within the hour. Out of the whole list, this is the one that should feel like freedom. Now step back and look at the whiteboard, because the 6 we've drawn form one picture. On the left, the world as it actually is. On the right, you. And in between, a row of lenses. One bends everything toward the first number it saw. One bends toward whatever you already believed. One toward whatever's vivid. One toward whatever you've already paid. One toward the negative. One toward an audience that isn't really there. Nothing. No fact, no price, no memory reaches you without passing through the row and coming out bent. Which raises the obvious question, if the lenses are right there, why can't you feel any of this happening? That's number 7, the bias blind spot. In 2002, Emily Pronin and her colleagues at Stanford described the master bias. We detect bias easily in other people and almost never in ourselves. In one survey of more than 600 Americans, over 85% rated themselves less biased than the average person, which is statistically impossible, and exactly 1 person out of 600 said the opposite. Here's the mechanism. When you judge other people, you look at their behavior. When you judge yourself, you look at your intentions, and your intentions always feel clean. Biases don't feel like bias from the inside. They feel like just seeing things how they are. Quick honesty break. Because this channel does real psychology, not internet psychology. You'll see lists of 200 biases online. Many are renamed duplicates, and a few famous lab effects have shrunk or died under replication. The 7 here are the load-bearing ones. Anchoring in particular is among the most replicated effects in all of psychology. But biases are tendencies, not destiny. They show up on average, not in every person on every choice. And knowing the names by itself barely helps. Remember number 7. So, 3 defenses that actually move the needle. First, slow the decision down. Biases live in fast automatic thinking. For anything expensive or irreversible, sleep on it. The anchor fades overnight. Second, invert the search. Don't ask, am I right? Ask, what would change my mind? Then genuinely hunt for it. In studies, instructing people to simply consider the opposite measurably reduced bias when nothing else did. Third, use the outside view. Describe your situation to yourself as if a friend brought it to you. Strip the sunk costs, strip the intentions, and notice how fast the answer gets obvious. You can't delete the lenses. You can occasionally take them off and clean them. And now the twist you already know is coming. Somewhere in the last 8 minutes you pictured someone, the uncle, the coworker, the ex, who really needs this video. Catch that. 7 biases in, and the blind spot still routed every example away from you in real time. That's not a failure. That's the clearest look at number 7 you will ever get. If your brain just whispered, okay, that one's me, subscribe, because marker theory draws out the psychology behind why you do what you do. Next episode, how to read people. 7 behaviors that reveal who someone actually is. See you there.